Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio and welcome to day 1 of the 12 Days of Christmas quilt block series, and today we're going to do house number 1. There will be a link to the instructions and the patterns for this quilt top in the description box below, so go ahead and click on that and you can download and print out all the instructions and the patterns. And I have all the fabric requirements in there and some suggestions for things that you can do to make this quilt your own. Today we're going to do house number 1, and this is the block that I made, and I think it's pretty cute. So I hope you'll stay with me and I'll show you how to make this block. Okay, I'm going to get started with house number 1, and I have my layout here and I have my applique fusible cut out, and I'm going to apply it to the fabrics now and then start building the collage. Now if you want to, you can build the collage on your background fabric, your square, or you could do it on some release paper and then apply it to your applique block, which I think is what I'm going to do. And this is a piece of release paper from Wonder Under, and this is a piece from Steam 2, and you can use a Teflon sheet, craft sheet also, I believe. Now I am using Lite Steam 2, which is Pellon's brand of Steam 2, so it's pretty much the same, and it's worked really well for me in the past, so I'm going to use that this time. And I've got my house fabric here, and I'm going to fuse this to the wrong side, and I've had this folded up, so I'm going to press this to make sure it's nice and smooth, free of wrinkles. And then I've got the house piece and the roof, and I'm going to make sure that I've got it the right way. I don't want to do it this way. It goes this way. So this is the right side of the fabric, and I think I want the pattern. This has a batik tree-like pattern in it that runs. It's running vertical the way I have this fabric laying, so I could have it the house with the pattern going up and down, or I could do it sideways, but I'm going to go ahead and do this one up and down. And I don't know that there's any one part of the fabric I like better than the other than I kind of like, there seems to be more pattern down here than up here, and I think there's like kind of a blank space right there. So I'm going to do it over here, and I don't think it's going to matter much which way I put this on. But anyway, I'm going to release the paper side, which is this side here, not the side with the grid on it, and I'm going to press this down. And just rub it really well, and now it's ready to cut out. With this, you can also run a dry hot iron over it for a few seconds to give you like a temporary bond on it, and then let it cool, and then cut it out, and then remove the backing paper. So now I'm going to work on the roof and do the same. Let me go ahead and press out. And this piece has a lot of different colors in it. We've got some indigo, some green, a couple shades of blue, there's turquoise, there's rusty reds, a lot of pretty pieces in there, so I can just decide where I want this to go. And I'm gonna try and conserve fabric. I don't want to go right in the middle and then have all of this as waste, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this up here. and just reserve the rest of that fabric so that I can use it in a block if I want to. And I think I want these leaves here, these branches, to be going down the roof, so I'm going to put this, whoops, this way, and make sure I turn it to the wrong side and press it down. Now ideally with fusible applique, it's best to pre-wash your fabrics. Now I haven't pre-washed my 10-inch squares, but I did pre-wash this dark blue batik because it's been my experience with deep blues and reds that there's a lot of extra dye left over in these fabrics, and they're going to run everywhere, especially if you're going to use steam, or if you wash the quilt you're going to get a lot of excess dye in your water. So I went ahead and I washed this, and I did get a lot of dye out of it. It actually looks like a completely different color now that it's washed. It was even a darker blue than this. These lighter areas just weren't this light. They were more like the darker sections. So this was a really dark piece before I washed it. And I washed it and rinsed it twice, washed it one more time and rinsed it one more time, and then the water was finally fairly clear. It was still had a little blue tint, but it was pretty good. Okay, so my other pieces that I need to cut out, I have the door and the door frame, the windows and the window frames, I have the window boxes, and I have the chimney. So I have lots of little pieces to cut out, and let me lay these aside for the moment, and then I need to choose the fabrics for those. So I have this darker fabric, which will be the door and the flower boxes and the chimney, and then all of the frames and the mullions for the windows. And then the window that is going in the attic is going to be from the same fabric that the front of the house is, and then the windows and the door frame are going to come out of the same fabric that the roof is. So I think this is going to work. So I am going to go ahead and lay all of these out and get them pressed and ready to cut out. Okay, I'm going to cut out my pieces now, and I'm just using a pair of scissors. I'm just cutting right on the edge of the drawn line. And on these roofs, if you feel like squaring them off, you certainly can do that. I'm going to round the corners. Okay, so now I'm ready to build my appliques, and since I'm using this pressure sensitive fusible, I can build my appliques right here on the fabric. So, but I'm just going to lay these out first to kind of show what they're going to look like. And my two, let's see, my windows need to go up a little higher. And my door frame, and these door frames, you know, they're optional. You don't have to use these if you don't want to. And this window up here and its frame goes there, and the window frames themselves would go here. Like that, and there's the mullions. This will go underneath like that, and then you can decide if that's too much or not. The chimney, you know, you can put that wherever you want, and the mullions for, I lost my window boxes for those. And there's one window box, and there's the other window box. So now I can look and see if that's going to be too much, and I think I'm going to remove this. I don't think I want that up there. I think that's too much. So that'll go like that. And let me see. Okay, after playing around with things, I've decided to leave the mullions off of this window and just leave it like that. Now I'm going to put all of these pieces, the windows and the door and the frames, and put them together first before I put them on the other pieces. So I'm going to move this to the side, and I'm going to grab a release paper here, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the paper from the fusible, and I'm going to set that down, and that's sticky so it won't move around, which is really helpful. And do the other, do the frame, take the release paper off of that, and then get it all lined up. And I'm going to peel this off as one piece. So there we go. So this is all ready to go. I'm just going to stick that here and work on the windows next. It's one thing I like about this pressure sensitive fusible. And I did fuse this onto the fabric. You can just press it with your fingers, but I like to go ahead and fuse it. And let's put this on. And I looked at this with both ways, with the mullions and without. And I liked this window, these windows with the mullions on it, but I didn't like this one. This was just too much in there. So it could be the color of the fabric, or just that it's a smaller space. I'm not sure which, but I didn't like it as much, so I'm just going to leave that off. Okay. Okay, that will work. And then here is the window box. I'll go ahead and set that unit down, and then work on this one. Okay, and then we have the door. Okay, there we go. Now I'll get these out of the way. And we'll just switch places here. Okay, now when you're placing your applique on your background square, remember you have a 1/4 inch seam allowance down here. So what you can do is measure up a 1/4 inch with a ruler, and then butt this right there if you don't want this in your seam. You also can leave this up. It does not have to be right on the edge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull mine up because I want I want it a little more centered in the block. So I want to turn this way. So I have about 1 3/4 and 1 1.5. So let's move this up. Okay, 1 3/4. And I also want to center it this way, 3 inches and 3 1/8. So that's really pretty good. Move it just a little bit more, kind of center everything. So I need to start with my bottom pieces first. So let's take the paper off of this one. And what I mean is the pieces in the back. So the house front and the chimney would go first. And let me lay this here for just a minute. I want to get my chalk pencil. And I am at, up here. Okay, 1.5. There's 1.5 there. 1.5 there. Let me see. I might need to go. I need to go up a little bit more. So 1 3/4. Those are my target lines. And I want to find also the center. So it should be 6. And 1/4 would be the center. And let's see, I wanted it to go this direction. So I'm going to try and center it like this. Now this is repositional, so you can pull it up and adjust it if you need to. And it isn't permanently fused down until you steam it. So I think that looks pretty good. Let's take the backing off of this. And this is just a whimsical pattern. This isn't a formal pattern or anything. So if things look a little off, you know, that's not going to be bad. It's just going to add to the charm. And then I'm going to slip this under here for right now and take this off. Now I made my chimney a little bit longer because I changed the color of it. I was using a darker color and changed my mind and decided to go with the same color as the house front. And let's see. So I just need to slide it in a little bit further. So there we go. Okay. Now I'm going to turn this around towards me so I can see it a little bit better. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm happy with that. And now let's add the other pieces. So I'm going to put in the top window. This is like, you remember color forms when you were little? If you're as old as me, you might remember color forms. This is what this reminds me of, is playing with color forms. And stick the house in the middle. And then see how you can just peel off the whole unit? You know, there's 3 pieces together here, and you can just peel off that whole unit all at one time. And there's one window. And here's the other window. And there we go. So what do you think of that? Isn't that cute? I really like that. Okay, now we need to steam this, and I need a pressing cloth. So what I usually use for a pressing cloth is just a piece of muslin. Okay, when you are ready to fuse your applique down to your background square, follow the directions on your fusible, because each brand is different, and this is a pressure sensitive fusible. It's not the same as Heat and Bond or Wonder Under. There's different instructions for that. On mine, I have to use steam, and it says to use a damp pressing cloth. So I have a piece of muslin scrap here that I'm going to use, and I've dampened that with just a spray bottle, and I have my iron on steam, and then it says to press down for 5 to 10 seconds. So we're just going to hold it here and then just move it to the next section. And I'm just watching my wall clock here, and we're doing about every 5 seconds. And then I'm going to get this edge here, and you have to use some pressure on this too, not a whole lot, just a little bit, and then just peel that off. That should be all set, and then once it's cooled off, then it'll be ready to add any embellishments, to do machine applique stitch around any of the pieces that I want. But I think that's cute. Okay, now that I have the house on here, I need to add trees, and I've decided that since there isn't a lot of space here, that I'm going to put the narrow trees in here. This is tree number 1 and tree number 6, and I have to remember to leave myself my seam allowance. So I'm going to lay this aside, and I'm going to use these 2 fabrics for the trees and this one for the tree trunks. So I'm going to just apply the trunk pieces and just press them down. Okay, here we go. Let's put this one on, and I'm going over that dark section here. It's got some dark in it. So I have those on, and then cut that piece out. And then for the trees, I think I would do the tall tree out of this one. So I kind of like I like all of it. It's kind of hard to choose, but I think I'll try to go here, because I do still want to preserve my fabric. I don't want to cut right out of the middle of it, but that one will go there. And on this one, I'd like to get some of the bluer fabric in. So let me do this color, or this corner. And place that on it. I'm going to go ahead and press these 2 pieces with a dry iron, since they're a little bit bigger, just for a few seconds. Okay, now I can cut out pieces. Now for these trees, you can wait until you have all of your house blocks done before you add the trees. Sew those blocks together into a row and then add the trees, and you can overlap if you want. I chose not to, but that doesn't mean that you can't. That's cute. Okay, so get the backing off. And I want this to line up kind of with the base of the house. And I want some of that to show. And with this being pressure sensitive, it isn't permanently on, and that looks like I've got it a little bit crooked, so I can readjust that. See, this tree could be really tall or it could be really short, however I want to do it. So I'm going to make that one, I'm still going to make it the trunk shorter. Okay, now I'm going to turn this so that I can see what it looks like from my side. And see if we can get this a little more centered. Okay. So here we go. There is house block number 1. There we go. There's house block number 1. I just need to fuse those. So I'm going to spray my pressing cloth again. And I'm spraying it on both sides. I just have a spray bottle and a piece of fabric. And then I'm going to just lay that over the tree. And then hold this down for 5 to 10 seconds. Okay. There's another damp spot, so I'll go over here. There we go. I think that looks pretty cute. So here we are. This is house block number 1.
Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.